It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Hearts 13. Before we get started, a couple of notes here. Number one, these questions were very lengthy, so as not to spend the entirety on just Kyle reading questions and me giving like a 2-minute answer, we've cut it down into just the crux of the questions themselves. Thank you for the context, but we're going to streamline it a little bit. Number two, we really need to be careful about having multiple questions nestled into one question. So if the question is, what are these 4 ways of doing the same thing, we're only going to approach one of them, because otherwise we're answering 4 separate questions. It's just been labeled as one. And that's not fair to everybody else who's bought their minis and done one question per, question. So with that out of the way, Kyle, lead off.
In 2 parallel realities of our non-fictional Earth, the Deke Entertainment Company decides to create an animated TV series based off of the Sonic comics. How does a Sonic the Comic TV series and Archie Sonic TV series play out in their realities?
Sonic the Comic, I can't even begin to guess. Like, it's been so long since I've read it. I don't know how you would approach it. Maybe very episodically. I don't know, really. With Archie Sonic, if we're talking pre-reboot, maybe, pre and post. I mean, they were kind of broken up into their arcs, especially in the latter years pre-boot and definitely post-boot. You could make that into a handful of episodes, maybe some of the larger stories being into a season. I would definitely think post-boot would be easier to translate from comic to episode, almost one for one in some respects.
Yeah, possibly. We have a lot of boots, though, Ian. This is what I'm noticing. It's a lot of boots on the ground, boots to the head. What if scenario about the 99 Sonic Underground animated TV series? Do you think they could have brought more elements from the 90s Archie Sonic and Archie Knuckles comic series onto this show?
Maybe. Like, the only real crossover is Athair, and that's a weird one.
That is weird, yeah.
Like, the Athair of Underground is nothing like the Athair of the comics. And I honestly have no idea how that works out. Like, if there was any kind of rights consideration or any of the creators referenced, I have no idea. So it really would come down to, I guess, ownership and license or oversight. Like, if Sega wanted more cross-pollination, given just how different Athair is between the two, I would imagine any other Archie material would be very different in the underground setting. But it's so wildly speculative, I can't even begin to speculate.
Yeah. It's a very odd thing, though, that happened. Was Athair first in the comics or in the show?
99% sure comics.
Okay. That's a strange element to bring over. Of just that one thing.
If I remember correctly, he debuted in Tales' miniseries.
Yes, that I do remember, yeah. Just such a weird thing. Next question. What would the Sonic X anime versions of Adventures of and Sad AM look and be like aesthetically and thematically? 2014's Boom and the Archie Sonic comic series timeline, too.
See, this is what I'm talking about. These are four questions.
Technically
basically.
4 questions, yes.
So let's take, I think the one that would work the best would be a Sonic X anime styled Sad AM.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one is the most narratively driven, and that one is the most in need of a visual punch up for the action segments. I mean, it did what it could at the time, and animation styles have changed, and Western versus Eastern sensibilities and all that. But I mean, just imagine Sonic racing the Cheetah Bot from like that one episode in Sad AM, but done like Studio Trigger style.
Yes.
Like, dude. Or the big old, what was it, tripod, quadruped, spider bot deforester thing.
Yeah.
Do that with a little bit of anime style zhuzhing up. Ooh, that'd be pretty.
Some War of the Worlds stuff going on in here. That would be super sweet. And I mean, I don't think you really have to change the stories too much. I mean, You could stick with what worked from the original and just kind of bring it over.
Yeah. Like, I think that
It
would be
works.
the easiest to transplant.
Yes. All right. Sonic Life Story issues 3, the 2010s, and number 4, 2020s. How old would Sonic and friends be in the 10s and 20s of the 20th century? Of the 21st century? What Sonic games of those decades would the third issue take place in? Fourth issue would probably be Sonic Frontiers. And what elements and issues from modern Sonic comic series do you see appearing in these issues?
Shoot. So the premise was from a previous mini that Sonic, I think it was that Sonic like ages in real time
Something like that, yeah.
from his debut in like 91 to now. So by the 2010s, he's what? We're assuming he's 16 when he starts off in like Sonic 1 in the 90s. So he would be 20s by the aughts. So he'd be in his 30s by the 2010s.
He's crushing his 30s.
It's kind of weird to think of like Sonic Colors with a 30-year-old Sonic.
He's fine.
Like the goofier era, but with an older Sonic. Maybe at that point he just kind of doesn't care.
Oh, so
like it's less flippant and more just kind of laid back. Yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah, Zavok, sure. Buddy, do you know how much action I've seen?
It's just Boom Sonic. Eggman's like, I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot.
So then he's well into his 40s when we get to Frontiers.
He's crushing those 40s.
So Tails, if he's 8 in the 90s, 18 by the aughts, 28 by the teens, and now he's into his 30s. I mean, that brings his heart-to-heart with Sonic in a completely different context, don't it?
Yeah.
It's less of the young protege wanting to measure up and more like, dude, going, what have I done with my life?
Oh, no.
That's super depressing. I don't like that at all.
I don't either. I don't like this, Ian. Restart.
Of course, that also means we've got, like, in the IDW characters, like Tangle and Whisper, also comparably in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Joining in, but it's kind of fun to think of making friends later on in life, not just, carrying the same ones you've known since high school or college. So that's kind of a positive note.
Yeah.
That's uplifting. As for what games, I imagine all that we've covered up to this point. He's had a very busy few decades.
He's been, he's seen a lot. He has seen a lot. They've all seen a lot. They've all seen too much. All right. Next question. An interdimensional portal opens between 4 parallel realities. An alternate Sonic the Comic universe, where Dr. Ovi Kindleboard never became Robotnik. An alternate IDW Sonic universe, where Mr. Tinker was kidnapped and had his Eggman memories restored, but kept his Mr. Tinker personality. An alternate Moebius, where the Suppression Squad destroyed themselves, and Ivo Kindleboard made his world into an eco-friendly techno-utopia, and an alternate classic games universe where the evil Dr. Eggman was never born. Kindleboard 1 from Sonic the Comic, Kindleboard 2 from Moebius, Mr. Tinker and Bell from IDW are sucked into the alt-classic universe on South Island around the time of Sonic 1 would have happened. How did these 4 good eggs get to work making this new world a better place, and what is the chemistry between them?
Well, they don't really have a lot to do because Eggman's the problem.
Yeah, if Eggman was never born, then like
Eggman's the instigator. He's the one polluting. He's the one strip mining. He's the one causing all the problems. If he's not there, then they just have a lovely vacation on South Island.
I mean, yeah, kinda. That's true. That's a good point.
Compare notes on what their worlds are like, what their South Islands are like. You've got Mr. Tinker kind of tapping his chin. I could have sworn I menaced this place at one point. Yeah, well.
Yeah. What if they were sucked into the main timeline with Eggman still having been born?
Then I suppose they'll help Sonic stop Eggman. You would have Tinker going, I know what he's going to do next. Go ahead and run ahead to Marble Zone. Cut him off at the pass. Trust me on this one.
Uh-huh.
No, you don't go there. There's lots of fire. And otherwise, they're just marveling at Belle's construction and, saying how amazing she is. And she's getting super bashful because she's not used to all this positive reinforcement and attention.
Uh-huh.
It's just a generally lovely time.
I think they all go there and just play canasta. Maybe that's what happens. Throwback to the other episode. That's what Belle deserves. She's been through enough. She's seen enough trauma, Ian. Wait, no, you didn't put her through that much trauma.
I a little bit.
You helped with the trauma, but that wasn't all you.
She's been shaking, and I helped.
Also, holy crap. Ian, open up the chat real quick. Do it. You need to do it. You need to see this. Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
I mean, really, if anybody's going to claim to be a couple of steamed hams.
Definitely ham, at least. All right. Adventures of adaptations of Sonic origin games. The first adaptation is Sonic CD, and the second is based on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. How do the events of these games play out in the alternate reality of 90s adventures?
So Sonic CD, I would imagine, would play out largely the same because they don't call them zones. What do they call them in that one? Stages?
In which ones?
CD. It's not zones.
I think they're still technically zones. I don't think they
I know
have.
they technically zones.
I think they just call them
stages.
acts. It might just be acts.
Well, regardless, they're already pretty darn wacky.
Wacky
So they would
workbench,
fit
even.
Yeah, exactly. So that would fit the aesthetic well enough, and you have Robotnik. I have to actively think about saying Robotnik instead of Eggman now. He's after those time stones, and that's all the reason he needs. Amy, if we're being true to the time period, she's going to be kind of clingy and obnoxious in a fangirl way, but Sonic's still going to save her while being snarky about it.
Yep. Nope, they are called zones, Ian.
They are called zones.
Yes.
What am I thinking of then? Maybe it's not acts. Maybe that's
it's this zone 1, but it's like Sonic 2 is also like zone 1, zone 2. It's not, there's no acts for Sonic 2 or Sonic CD.
No, there isn't Sonic 2 because I remember getting to Metropolis Zone and it says Act 3. I'm like, beg your pardon?
No, I'm pretty sure it just says zone.
Well, that's not part of the question anyway.
Oh,
Point
but
is,
apparently also, I guess they're called rounds in Sonic CD.
There we go.
That's weird.
There we go.
It's like calling them boards. It's like a very old arcade term.
Metal Sonic Adventures of style. See, I want to make him cool because he's Metal Sonic.
Maybe it's like the one time he makes something cool. Otherwise, he just Otherwise, he just has to be pseudo Sonic.
He's basically pseudo Sonic. He's Sonic with a voice filter, and he just totally like jocks his way around the other S6 squad members, and they hate him. He hits the door and falls down, and they sent to rescue him. And Grounder's like, technically, you take the M off. He's still a Sonic. And so they just leave him there. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Again, I feel like the basic premise of the game itself can be intact because now, Robotnik's after the Master Emerald. Excuse me. Master Emerald.
There you go. You gotta drag that R out.
And Knuckles is basically Knuckles. Just give him like a tough guy Brooklyn accent or maybe a very generic fighting Irish accent, something obnoxious, but he's just there beating Sonic at all the worst opportunities, like a successful Wile E. Coyote, until the vile but inevitable betrayal, and then he joins the other two. It would still work. I think the core story doesn't have to be changed too much. It's just the implementation.
Yeah.
The execution.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised we never got any game adaptations really in Adventures of, but it would have been interesting if we did. Oh.
Yep. Tails marveling at all the various zones they go to, and Sonic being impatient about looking at things and just wanting to run ahead. Mm-hmm. Tails becoming imperiled by something in each zone, and Sonic saving him and being snarky about it.
Yeah, of course. I would like it. I would like to see it. If you
I
were
mean, shoot, the Act 1 boss of Flying Battery is basically Adventures of Gag anyway.
That's true. It's itself.
Fake prison capsule that you have bonk itself on the head repeatedly? I mean, come on!
It writes itself.
Shoot, even the Flying Battery boss, Eggman hanging by some kind of like weird crawling chimpanzee bot. I'm swooning around on the highest trapeze. I hate that hedgehog. I hope he has fleas. And then they beat him and he goes plummeting down with that noise. It fits.
Yep. There you go. But what would be the Sonic Says lessons?
Well, let's see. Flying Battery is like, don't play with corroded batteries. It would be a lesson on electronics handling.
Yeah, sure.
Lava Reef would be like fire safety. Hidden Palace would be, a warning about urban exploration. You need to be safe.
Don't go play in caves.
Yeah. Mushroom Hill, don't eat the shrooms.
Yeah, don't
go on a trip.
Oh no, poor Tails.
Sandopolis would be, good sunscreen hygiene stuff. Make sure you're covered up if you're going to be playing out in the sand.
Yeah.
Hydro City would be, a lesson on learning to swim and getting your basics down early.
Oh,
it works.
I figured Hydro City would just be a lesson on pronunciation. Either way. If you were allowed to make these series, Sonic 94, mostly based directly on 1993's Sonic SatAM after Season 2, and In Another Time, Another Place, which is a crossover / possible conclusion to the pre/post SGW timelines of the Archie comics. I guess the question is, what would you do if you were allowed to make these series?
And each one of those is its own question, more or less. What would you do with a SatAM Season 3? What would you do with a conclusion to post Super Genesis Wave Archie Sonic? What would you do pre?
Yeah.
And again, those are three separate questions. So
yeah.
The thing with SatAM Season 3, we'll go that route because we're kind of talking classic cartoons this round. I'm not sure what I would do because I would worry about the fan project that's going on right now, because I wouldn't want to do anything that they're doing and steal their thunder. But at the same time, there's some pretty obvious directions to go with it. So there would probably be parallels. I don't know. It's a fan project, so I've not looked into it myself. I've respected them and kept my distance, but I feel like creative minds would think similarly in a lot of ways. So I don't know how I would approach a Season 3 of SatAM. It's a little intimidating, to be honest.
Well, you'll figure it out someday, maybe. Probably not.
Yeah,
if you get the chance to. Who is Dr. Julian Ivo Robotnik from SatAM and the Archie comics? What I really want to know is, who is he as a person? Why does he act the way he does? And what made him that way?
It's been a long time since I've had to go through that continuity, but I don't know if we ever got like a 100% clear picture. Like there was some, I think, strife between him and his brother.
He's just kind of a jerk.
That is kind of it. In the end of it is he's a self-serving jerk. Like he's a conniving individual, always looking for the opportunity to better himself. Well, raise his status, I should say, not like actual.
Yeah, not actually better himself. No.
Put himself in a better position. There we go.
Yeah.
And why? Again, I think we got like a vague hint of his family life not being like perfect, but it also didn't seem like it was terrible either. It may just be he was a bad apple.
Yeah, probably.
It could have been he was just a scummy guy from cradle to grave.
Yeah, pretty much. Makes sense to me. He's just kind of a jerk.
I mean, that sounds lazy, but we have so many real world examples of people that are just self-serving scumbags.
Yep.
Charlatans, carpetbaggers.
Yep.
It's like These people exist, and it's unfortunate.
Yep.
But
Sadly.
none of them have the mustache.
No, or the voice. Any voice. Whichever voice. All the voices. What if the Archie Mega Man comics were made in the 90s? How would it be different from the 2011 Archie Mega Man comics? And how would Worlds Collide be different?
That is a good question. I don't know. It would really depend on what direction Capcom wanted. The terrifying option is that they would want synergy with the Saturday morning
I was going
cartoon.
to say, would it be Ruby Spears?
In which case, it would basically be like what Archie Sonic was to Sat AM.
Yeah.
It would be and if we're just transplanting my brain from now to then, you would have me wanting to work in more game elements as best I can, please. But it would still be in the Ruby Spears mold.
I mean, honestly, it could be worse. Ruby Spears Mega Man was all right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't awful. Like, I mean, in terms of game cartoon adaptations, it's like it's not that bad. It's not that bad. No.
Yeah. It could have gone far, and you had a somewhat more active role for Roll. That's not terrible. And Blues is wildly out of character, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
So it's not unsalvageable. There are far worse scenarios we could be talking about. And for a Worlds Collide in that way, man, you'd have much more snark from Mega Man to Sonic. Like, it would not just be good boy compared to kind of the fun jerk. They would be bantering back and forth. There would be snippage had between the two of them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I imagine Roll would be more active in the story, present with the others. Oh God, we'd have that Scooby-Doo rush throughout the whole thing.
Still, he's really not that bad.
Come on, Ryle. Ooh, roll, that would get rolled real, Rick.
It would, but I mean, I don't know. It's charming in its own way.
But that would also mean that the Worlds Unite sequel wouldn't have the Deadly Six. It would be Sigma teaming up with the Lion Man.
Oh, no. Oh, man. I don't know if I want this now. I don't know.
I think I just made it better.
Or maybe you did.
Yeah.
Maybe you did make it better.
The Lion Men don't transform you with just their eye beams. They infect you with Sigma virus, too. So you're Maverick Lion Men.
Whoa. Dude. Crazy.
And like all the Lion Men get like Maverick style armor. I don't know, dude. This sounds like it's got some legs on it.
Okay. You convinced me. That sounds pretty sick. I'll take it. All right. We got one question left. Right now, Blade from Marvel and Marceline the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time team up. How does it go, and what do both of them think of each other being vampire hunters who are ironically half vampire? How cool do these two slayers look when they crash a bloodbath vampire DJ dance party to slay tons of vampires?
I will only accept this if we have Wesley Snipes Blade.
I mean, is there any other Blade?
They're trying, but it ain't working. Have him throwing out all his usual non sequiturs, and Marceline just being kind of like, "Yeah, all right, dude, you do you." And like he's otherwise like silent through the whole thing. Like she can quip, she can sing. She's like carrying all the characterization in their team up, and then he'll just say like, "Some fool's always trying to ice skate uphill," and she's like, "Yeah, I guess that makes kind of sense. Whatever."
Just throwing out random quips for no reason.
And she like falls through the ceiling tile into the DJ dance party. Record scratch. All the vampires look on her. She starts off with a kick-ass guitar solo. So they start dancing it again. And then he comes in unnoticed and he starts chopping heads off to the beat of the music. And then they suddenly realize that they're being massacred. And that's when she leaps in. She's like, "Mosh pit!" And then they like kill all the vampires.
Cool. It's a cool story, bro. That's what they do. And that's what we do here on the BumbleKast.
Thanks to Heart 13. Thanks to Hearts13 for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. If you want one of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Let's rock.